Yeah, so good morning, everybody. I am so happy to be here. I have, my challenge is always to kind of get everything in, everything that I want to say done in a concise, timely way, because I can go all over the place. There's so much about this in my experience and in my training and in my own practice. So I'm hoping that if there's something that I say that doesn't make sense, that you ask me, and please unmute yourself and jump in because I can't see you. Feel free to, interrupt me at any point. My plan is to talk a bit about each aspect of yoga, which includes many things, but for our purposes today, we'll be talking about the body, physical movement, the breath, and the mind. And we'll move in that direction. We'll kind of go from gross to subtle because that's really how we're taught in yoga. And I'll talk a little bit, and then I really would invite you to participate in the practices for each of those. I think, well, I know that this year plus has been challenging, to say the least, for all of us in different ways. And I have, most of my friends are therapists, and I know how challenging it's been in particular for therapists. So I'm hoping too that this time is a time for you to kind of restore and nourish yourself. And to that end, I really invite you to, one, honor your needs throughout this, recognize when something feels uncomfortable or activating in some way, and know that my words are just suggestions. So stopping at any point when it feels really uncomfortable for you, getting up, walking around, taking a sip of water, or whatever you need to do to take care of yourself. I also invite you to give yourself permission to be fully present for this time, to put away the phone, like literally put it out of sight, turn on mute if you can, right? I know that we all are home and we have kids and there's a whole nother level of stuff, but if you're able to, as much as you're able to, give yourself permission to be fully present for these practices. They can be very nourishing and restorative, and you deserve it. So what I'd like to start with is a grounding, just a short grounding meditation, using the senses, basically, right? So generally speaking, meditation is about deciding what we're bringing the mind's attention to. And that can be any number of things. I tend to anxiety, so grounding is really helpful for me. Using my senses, using my breath, using sound, different things like that. I'll talk a little bit more about that, but there's so many different ways to support yourself and to support your clients using these practices. So this can be one of them. So I'm going to ask you or invite you to come to a steady, comfortable seat. Whatever that might look like for you, you can allow the spine to be upright. If you're seated in a chair, the feet are on the floor, connecting with that earth energy. And the hands can be resting on the legs, either palms up or palms facing down, maybe one inside the other in the lap. Any way that, again, feels supportive and allows the shoulders to relax. Close your eyes if that's comfortable, or allow your gaze to be focused softly on one object. Just enough so that the muscles around the eyes relax. We're just beginning to let go of any unnecessary holding on and tension in the body. And if you tend to be a jaw clencher, you can bring the tip of the tongue to the roof of the mouth, just behind the teeth. And let it rest gently there. So just beginning to settle here and know that the earth is rising up to meet and support the weight of your body. And that gravity is holding us all here. You may want to begin to notice points of contact that the body is making with the seat, the floor, the hands on the legs. And gently begin to shift awareness to the space around you, tuning in to the sounds that are nearby, inside your space, and even sounds that are outside your space, farther away. Begin to notice all of these things without needing to judge or avoid or change. Begin to notice any scent that may be present. Noticing anything that you see, even if your eyes are closed. Maybe some colors or shapes. Noticing the temperature of the air, the sensation of it on the skin. And bringing awareness again back to the body. Noticing the breath. You may want to bring awareness to any physical sensation as you inhale and exhale. Maybe in the lower abdomen, gentle expanding and relaxing. Or a rise and fall in the chest. Maybe even noticing the flow of air in and out through the nostrils. There even may be a sensation of cooler air on the inhale and warmer on the exhale as the body warms it. So allowing the breath to flow in its natural rhythm, allowing the body to breathe itself. And allowing the mind to wander perhaps from one sensation to the next. You may notice that one particular thing comes into the foreground of your awareness. And then something else steps in to the foreground and that moves to the background. Being present, noticing as well thoughts that will certainly arise, maybe feelings. Staying with them, allowing them to be just as they are. Perhaps noticing that there's a beginning, a middle, and an end to each of them, allowing them to drift through awareness like clouds in the sky. And then very gently beginning to deepen the breath, opening the eyes if they're closed. Bringing any movement to the body that you notice it might need. Still early, so I don't want you to fall asleep on me. I haven't had my coffee yet. The birds are cooperating. Are you all hearing them? I'm like, that's a nice background sound. So, you know, again, a check-in, right? I encourage always through each of these practices, no matter what it is, to take a moment to pause and check in and notice, you know, beginning to gently attend to our whole selves, right? Attend to the body and the breath and the mind and hear its wisdom and respond. So, anybody have any comments or questions or about that short meditation? I'd love to hear it. You just gonna have to unmute yourself because I can't see anyone. Everybody's good? Okay.
I'll say something.
Yes, please.
Just thank you so much for that. It was so relaxing, and it's funny because I tend to like declutter my mind, I feel like, when I haven't meditated in a while, so I kind of just watched everything pass and let go of it, so it was really nice.
Did you want me to talk to her?
Excuse me for 1 second. Can you mute yourself, please? Whoever's not speaking. Thank you. I'm sorry, can you go ahead?
Sure. Just that it was really nice. Thank you. I feel like I tend to declutter my mind a little bit when I haven't meditated in a while. So a lot of those, you know, stress thoughts came and you said pass by like clouds. So I kind of let them. So it was nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's the power. One of the powers of meditation is that it really is. It's an active process, right? So I can talk a little bit more about this. It's an active process in that we're attending, right? We're bringing attention to. It's not relaxation. That's a whole nother practice in and of itself, right? Conscious relaxation. And the practice of meditation leads to a more relaxed state of mind, right? So it's like a vacation for the mind. It's like a rest for the mind, because we spend so much time rehashing and rehearsing. That's where the mind likes to go, right? And usually to the negative, right? Unfortunately, we're hardwired to the negative. So there's that brings all the stress and tension. And there's a lot to meditation, which I'll talk about a little bit later. I do want to share that I strive to make all of my teaching trauma informed. You know, there's and if you're working with clients in this way, making sure that you offer lots of options, you know, to opt out, to try different things, because there's too much information out there, I think, flying around about what meditation is and how to do it, and we are best able to support somebody in developing their own practice if we have our own practice, right? If it's integrated and embodied in us, we can teach them, and it's a great way to take care of yourself. So that being said, right, that's the mind aspect, which is the most subtle and the most tricky, as we know. There are other ways to bring a meditative attention or awareness or a sense of mindfulness. I think that it's really hard to separate mindfulness and meditation. I think mindfulness is inherent in meditation. And so I want to talk a little bit about yoga, because yoga is a science. It's a holistic science. It's a lifestyle. It's been passed down for thousands of years. It's been that watered down and appropriated in our country, so that the general perception of it is that it's all about the body, which traditionally it is not. It is about the mind. And also this perception or misconception, I should say, that yoga is for, you know, skinny white women or very able-bodied people. And it's not. It's for anyone. There are so many different ways to access a sense of peace, a sense of strength, resilience, right? And so we're going to move into the body. I'll guide you through some movement. Again, my way of practicing and teaching is to bring mindfulness and the breath into the movement so that it becomes this complete experience. Again, I invite you to take whatever works for you, but certainly to try it. And I always suggest starting with an intention. And that word is thrown around a lot too, I think. If you take yoga classes, you might hear somebody say, yeah, set your intention for your practice. And I've heard other people say to me, like, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. Like, I just kind of go through the motions. So intention for me is not a goal. It's an energy or an awareness that I choose to travel with. So for instance, I oftentimes suggest, you know, or invite an intention of curiosity for whatever arises. And so there's curiosity, is that like, right? No real judgment around it, just being open and curious, right, about it. So it's information. And then compassion or kindness or gentleness. Because we can bring awareness to something, but it's not going to serve us well if that awareness is based in judgment or anger or fear. Right? What we're looking to do, or what I'm looking to do, I should say, when I practice and when I teach is to cultivate a sense of loving kindness, of deep self-care and honoring. So as we move through the rest of the time together, you know, maybe think about an intention that resonates for you. Maybe my suggestions don't, but something that serves your best interest, right? Maybe it's patience, maybe it's strength, maybe it's something, you know, that you can come back to as you practice, that kind of helps to guide you through it. Does it make sense? Any questions? Okay. All right. So let's move the body a little bit, right? I don't know about you, but you know, sitting in Zoom world can have its own effects, even for short periods of time. So again, we can do it from seated, and the movements are pretty simple. And I believe that that it's powerful because we're bringing this intention and attention and the breath together. That makes things feel a little bit different. So I'm going to sit upright again. I'm going to start with something called a wing and a prayer. So we'll set the intention and move the body through that. I'm going to start with the hands together in front of the heart. Take a deep breath in and a complete breath out. Take a moment to think about what your intention will be for the rest of our time together. And on your next inhale, take the hands up to the ceiling. Look up at the thumbs, lift out of the waist. And exhale and bring it back to the heart. And then inhale, open the arms out wide to the side. I have small space. I don't know about you. And exhale, bring it back to the heart. We'll move this way 2 more times, taking the inhale, the hands up. Exhale to the heart. Inhale, open it out wide. We slide the shoulder blades toward each other. Exhale, bring it back to the heart. Once more, inhale, bring it up. Exhale to the heart. Inhale out. And exhale back to the heart. Good. Bring the arms out to the sides with the palms facing up. Right. And we'll take the inhale, bring the arms out and up. This is sun breath. So again, just kind of opening up the sides of the body, reaching, and then turning the palms away, exhaling the arms out and down. We're going to do this 2 more times. I like 3. Inhale, arms out and up. Exhale out and down. Breathing through the nose if it's accessible to you. Breathing through the nose helps to slow the breath down a bit. And when the breath is a little bit slower and steadier, that also supports a steadier mind. Good. Bring the right hand just on your seat next to your right hip, and the left arm is going to come out to the side with the palm facing up. And we'll take the inhale here, bring it up, reaching, and then exhale, bending to the right. So keeping that left hip on the floor, taking a few breaths here, inhaling, exhaling, and just noticing what's present. Physical sensations are here. And on the next inhale, we're going to bring the arm up, and exhale and bring it down. Another note, if anything hurts, if there's a sharp stabbing pain or some kind of, please don't do it. If it's uncomfortable, that's like part of the practice, right? That's that fun part of leaning in and working with the breath and the mind. So we're going to do the other side. Right arm comes out, left hand next to the hip. Inhale to bring it up. Reach, create some space, and then exhale. We'll take a few breaths here, right? So again, it doesn't matter how far over you're leaning. Just bringing that awareness to the side body and breathing. If judgment arises or the mind wanders, it's okay. Bring it back to the breath, the sensations. Inhale, bring it back up to center, and exhale, lower it down. Take a moment to check in and notice. Maybe something has shifted. We're going to bring the fingers together in front of the heart, interlacing them here. We're going to take an inhale and turn the palms away, and exhale and press. I like the way this looks on the camera. And then inhale and bring the hands up, palms up toward the ceiling like Happy Buddha. Exhale, release the arms out and down. We're going to do this 2 more times, interlacing the fingers, inhaling, exhaling, inhaling, exhaling, interlacing, inhaling, exhaling, inhaling, exhaling. Letting the hands come to rest on the legs, taking a breath. A gentle twist. So you're going to bring the, I'm going to try and mirror you. Left hand to the right knee, right hand behind you or next to your hip. Start by facing forward as much as possible, taking an inhale, keeping the spine really long, shoulders relaxed. And then as you exhale, gently turning to the right. Letting the belly, the ribs, the chest, and maybe the head looks over the shoulder. The eyes look over that right shoulder. And taking a few breaths here. Being mindful not to use the arms to really, force the twist. Instead, use the breath. Take one more breath here. And on your next inhale, come back to center, rest the hands. Take a breath. And we'll do the other side. So right hand to the left knee, left hand next to you or behind you. Inhale to sit up nice and tall. Exhale to gently turn to the right, looking over the right shoulder. And on the next inhale, coming back to center. Good. Last one, shoulders and neck. I think a lot of us kind of tend to carry the weight of the world on our shoulders and literally feel it there. So again, using the breath and just, and we'll talk about this some more too, but know that the exhalation supports relaxation in the body and the mind, right? So you'll notice as we're moving into each of the stretches, we're exhaling. So if you want to visualize or, just kind of work with consciously relaxing tension on each exhale, see how that feels for you, right? So we're going to take an inhale to sit up nice and tall, shoulders relaxed, arms relaxed. And then as you exhale, allow the chin to come down to the chest and the head to be heavy. Take a breath here. Keeping the chest lifted and the spine long. And then keeping the head down, turn your chin towards your left armpit. Take a breath here. You might begin to notice muscles that are a little more tense. If in these movements you find a place that's like really like, oh yeah, that's where everything hangs out, take some time and settle into that with the breath. You may want to move your chin up and down a bit or side to side now. So bringing the chin towards the right armpit. Right? And then taking any movements that your neck and shoulders might benefit from. Maybe some neck rolls. Be mindful of bringing the head all the way back if you have neck issues. So, right? So, and keep it slow and notice. Take that exhale right to the spot that needs to be released a little bit. Allow it to soften. So one of the suggestions that I make also is if you know where tension tends to hang out in your body, we all kind of have that. It's like low back or neck and shoulders or something like that. It's really beneficial to do some kind of movement at the end of every day to keep it from piling up, right? From getting worse, because throughout the day, we're experiencing tension. Everything we think, everything we feel is experienced in every cell in our bodies. Candace Pert wrote a book called Molecules of Emotion. She talks about that if you're into more sciencey stuff. She was brilliant. She also found the opiate receptor. So she's really interesting. Right, so knowing that, we're not just, feelings and thoughts are contained in our heads in these little squares on Zoom. Any comments or questions about any of that? Okay, and so I started to say before, one of the, I primarily have been teaching in IOP settings, mental health settings, right? So, and we know that we all engage in behaviors to avoid discomfort and seek pleasure. Right? We're kind of hardwired that way too. And yet we also know that by avoiding some of the pain, we suffer more. Right? Went to a Zen meditation last night with Kevin LeBlanc. He's just so cool. And he was talking about just being present with whatever is here, right? And not easy, simple but not easy. And he used the example or the analogy of it's like a ghost and having a ghost in the closet. And I immediately was brought back to my childhood where I would be scared at night and like hear a sound or think there's something happening, and yet would be immobilized. So I'd lay in bed, you know, my eyes wide, looking around, just totally frozen in fear. That resistance to getting up and just opening the closet door and looking to see what's in caused me so much more suffering than just getting up and looking. So we can use the physical practices as a maybe, right, depending, right? I know like trauma is a whole nother thing. And again, there's different ways to access it, but the body and the movements like the ones that we did can be ways to start exploring, like, okay, this is uncomfortable for me, like especially if I hold it for a bit, start to get uncomfortable, stuff bubbles up, right? Okay, so if it's not causing me pain or injury, can I stay here? Can I breathe and kind of lean into a little bit? And if I do that, I might notice a little more space is being created. And if I can do that, well, then I know that I can maybe lean into an uncomfortable situation in my daily life with that difficult person or with a craving, right? I can sense its presence and I can take a breath and I can let it pass, or I can create some space around it. So in that way, I think it's really empowering and it creates resilience, right? The yoga asanas, the way that they're taught now, so often, you know, what I hear is, oh, that was a great workout, and everybody gets kind of caught up in these fancy poses and, you know, challenging themselves. And I think that's all fine and good with the body. But in terms of, you know, like recovery or healing journey, or just developing mindfulness and presence, it doesn't have to be fancy moves. Simple is powerful. Well, again, when we bring attention and intention and the breath, it becomes a whole nother thing. And anybody can do it. You can do it with movements with the hands, right? You can do it with whatever capacity, physical capacity a person has. Because it really is about the intention that's there. It is about cultivating compassion for ourselves and for whatever we're experiencing also. Creating some ease in our bodies and minds. Any comments or questions on that before I go? What is the name of the book you mentioned before? Oh, Candace Pert. Candace Pert, P-E-R-T, and the book is called Molecules of Emotions. It's an older book. She's since passed, but yeah, she's one of those like little known heroes, I think. Sure, yeah. So the breath, and again, caveats, right? Always caveats. If there's trauma, any one of these practices can be activating and not healing. And so It's one of the reasons why I really keep it very simple when I teach to groups, and where I believe that working with folks individually is so important, especially when they're on some kind of a healing journey and there's some trauma. And I have some other resources that I'll mention at the end. The breath is not neutral for a lot of people. It is not. And it can be super, super useful as a tool for people, for those that it's not, activating for. So I want to talk about that a little bit, right? The beautiful thing about the breath is that we can go our entire lives without having to think about breathing, for the most part, right? If we're healthy, we're not going through every second of our day saying inhale, exhale, right? We don't have to do that. It's part of the autonomic nervous system. And we can regulate the breath. We can consciously direct the breath to help support and nourish our minds and our bodies in different ways. The breath is amazing. The body itself is amazing, right? We know that every time we take a breath, it's creating balance in the mind and body. The inhalation activates our sympathetic nervous system. The exhalation activates the parasympathetic nervous system, right? Fight, flight, rest, and digest. Inhaling, exhaling, right? Every time we inhale, we're nourishing every single cell in the body. And every time we're exhaling, we're cleansing every single cell in the body. So just by itself, without us doing anything, it's an amazing, amazing phenomenon. And that's just, that's the oxygen and all of the kind of more practical aspects. Energetically, in terms of yoga, our breath is what they say, what prana rides on. Prana is life force. Prana, P-R-A-N-A, is life force. It's like the same, it's similar idea as qi, if you know traditional Chinese medicine. It's what sustains, it's what animates, it's what's all around us and within us, right? And so in yoga, pranayama, regulation of the breath, is a very important practice. So first we move the body, we kind of release tension physically as much as possible to create some ease. We move some energy through energy lines that way. Then we move to pranayama, the breath, and support the body and the mind a little bit more subtly with that. Then we move to meditation, right? So we're kind of working towards creating like the most supportive state for meditation, because the mind is all over. Stress and the breath. And maybe, you all are probably really familiar with this. I hope I'm not being too redundant. I know you all are, working with folks for a long time, but I find it to be helpful to remind myself as well, right? When we move through our days and we are not conscious of our breathing, we typically are breathing shallow, meaning we're using like the top half or top third of our lungs to breathe. So we're not getting the nourishment, we're not getting all of that as much as our bodies can use. But the other thing that happens is there's this physiological loop, right? Where if we're in chronic stress or just general stress, right? Just driving the car or rushing through the day and attending to one thing after another, we're shallow breathing. And when we shallow breathe, it sends a signal to the brain that, oh, wait, something's not right, like be alert. And then the brain sends the message to the body to prepare for fight or flight, right? At different levels. And one of the things that happens in that message from the brain to the body is to tell the breath to be shallow, right? So it's this vicious cycle. Shallow breathing leads to fight flight, creates shallow breathing, and here we stay in this kind of, you know, general level of stress or anxiety, and the nervous system becomes unbalanced. So a couple of different ways to work with the breath that I think are relatively safe and effective for anybody. One is deeper breath, and that I'll talk you through, we'll practice together, sometimes called the 3-part breath in yoga, and regulating the breath. And I know too from teaching in IOPs and with different folks that there are lots of different breathing techniques that are shared. There's like box breathing, and there's some other things. Through my practice and through my learning as a student, do not recommend breath retention unless somebody is working with a skilled instructor individually. That can be activating in itself. And again, the breath is simple, but it's powerful. It's subtle, but it's powerful. There are some other breathing techniques. I did a training, actually, Vera, when I was working for you all, and I went to a training in New York with Richard Brown, a psychiatrist, and he talked about breathing techniques. And there are some that in yoga that can activate a manic episode in somebody who's bipolar, right? So just keep it simple, right? Come back to the basics. Maybe even just, you know, supporting people in being able to tune into their breath is where you start, to notice it. So the 3-part breath is a way of accessing a deeper breath. If people are, if people, especially our physical bodies, are healing from something, if somebody's in recovery from substance use, somebody's just detoxing, right? Somebody's just had surgery or some illness, taking deeper breaths is going to support the body's healing process. All right, I'm talking a lot. All right, so hopefully you all have some questions at the end of this or some comments. So what I would like to do is talk you through, let me check the time. Okay, talk you through the 3-part, what we call the 3-part breath. Another way to work with it, especially if there's, you know, the options are not to be so instructive, but to just invite someone to take as full an inhale as they're comfortable and as complete an exhale as they're comfortable. Just kind of work with that. But for our purposes today, I'm going to talk about 3-part breath a little bit. So you can bring one hand to your stomach, one hand to your chest. One more thing. The exhalation is the most important part of the breath, right? Because by emptying the lungs completely, we're allowing the inhalation, the full inhalation, to be accessed more easily. So we're going to start with, again, breathing in and out through the nose if that's accessible to you. Breathing out through the mouth is fine if it's not. And we're going to take an inhale and exhale. And as you exhale, begin to draw your belly button in towards your spine. Engage your lower abdominal muscles. Pressing all the air out. And now allow the belly to expand naturally as you inhale, like a balloon. Exhale, gently draw the belly button in. So the hand is there just to see, you know, just kind of, if you want to have that sensation be a little more palpable. Inhaling, allowing the belly to expand. Exhaling, drawing it in. Good. And on the next inhale, you're going to feel the belly expand, and then notice the ribs expand a little bit and maybe lift up. And exhale, relax the ribs. Draw the belly button back in. It feels very chunky. This is just the instruction part of it. Inhale, belly, ribs. And exhale, relax, and draw the belly button in. Next time, we're going to inhale, belly, ribs, and then bring the breath all the way up to the collarbones. And maybe you feel the chest lift a little bit up into that hand. So the whole torso feels like it's expanding, front, sides, and back. Taking a little more air at the top of that inhale. And then slowly exhale. You can feel the chest relax, the ribs relax. The belly button comes in gently. So inhaling belly, ribs, chest. Exhaling chest, ribs, belly. Good. So that's a full breath. You can allow your hands to come down and rest. So just again, another way to use the sensations in the body as an anchor for the mind's attention to take a full breath. And once you feel a comfortable rhythm with that, you can just move into your own pace. There's a very real physiological action that happens when you gently pull your belly button in and up, like really engage, right? What we're doing is we're kind of scooping in. So what's happening as you do that is the lower organs are pressing up against the diaphragm, which is at the bottom of the lungs. It's like an umbrella, a sheath of muscle or tissue, right? And so when you're engaging in that, pulling in, it's pushing the diaphragm up against the bottom of the lungs, which is helping to expel more air. And then when the inhalation with the belly is soft, allows the diaphragm to drop down and the lungs to fill completely, right? So this is the opposite of shallow breathing. Does this make sense? So once you find a comfortable full breath for yourself or your client, you can work with regulated breathing, just working with making each inhale and exhale equal in length. Talking about having an unbalanced nervous system, right? And we've seen a lot of dysregulation, especially in this past year. The breath can support that, right? So simply finding a comfortable full inhale and exhale, it might be to the count of 4 or 5 or 6, right? Again, whatever capacity the lungs have, and making each inhale and exhale equal. And you'll count like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, like a metronome, and find a rhythm for that. Working with that kind of a breathing technique daily for like 5 minutes, maybe 10. We'd start with 5, maybe work up to 10, especially if the nervous system is really dysregulated. At a time when, you know, the focus can be on the breath. At a time when there's not stress all around, right? Just like with meditation, we want to create the space, the time and the space to fully attend to the breathing, to the movements, to whatever it is we're practicing. Does anybody have any breathing technique that they use for themselves or with clients that they find helpful? Darn it, we're running out of time.
I do the box one, where
You
you
do?
like just look at any square object, and that's usually pretty easy because there's usually something. And I'll like follow the box. Sometimes I'll even do it like in the middle of if I'm doing something because I can multitask with it because it's like an easy way of breathing.
Is that the one where you count 4, hold 4, like inhale 4,
Yeah,
exhale?
inhale 4, exhale, inhale, exhale. Following the pattern of like whatever the square object is.
Cool. Yeah, there's a lot out there. Thank you.
Yeah, a lot of times I will I've heard the feedback from people at times like when it comes to like box breathing or some other stuff that does involve like holding your breath, where some clients like it's kind of like they find it very helpful, others find it like anxiety provoking. I think, because I think holding your breath, so like when people say that or if they have that sense, like a lot of times I just kind of more so like focus on describing like similar to what you did, and well, a lot less detail though, but kind of just breathing into your belly sort of thing. And just because I find that like a lot of people, myself included, sort of just you take these like shallow breaths, so like high in your chest or whatever, and like the more you do that, it's kind of like these like short, I don't know, like not very useful breaths. Yeah. So a lot of times, like even just directing people's attention to that, I think I've like noticed sort of helps people.
I agree. Thanks, Kyle. Yeah, for sure. Again, yeah, just directing, just people being aware, making, helping people to be aware of what their breathing is like, just that information is so powerful and important, and then beginning to shift it. And yes, the breath is definitely not neutral. I've had my own, I have my own experiences with it when I went through the mindfulness training with Tara Brach and Jack Kornfield, and there was a bunch of time focused on the breath, and I couldn't do it. I had to stop. I fell back onto what worked for me. It was just too activating. So options always so important. And encouraging ourselves and others to really trust the wisdom of their body and to respond appropriately to that.
Can I mention something?
Please.
I know I'm a very introspective person to begin with. And when I do group with little kids, I've been doing the Starfish breathing techniques. I don't know if that's the real name, but Conscious Discipline talks about for little kids it's hard for them to understand the breathing technique. So we use it as a Starfish, where you open your arms and your legs and you smile, and then you breathe in and breathe out. You count to 3 and you do it 3 times. And for me as an adult, that's very helpful to start with a smile and then do the breathing.
I love that. Yes. Yes, we can learn a lot from kids and do what we're telling kids to do, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Can I make a comment?
Please.
Yeah, just this is really keeping it simple, but it's funny how remembering to do this in my personal life, even just like when you're in that chaos situation, this happens more at home than at work, fortunately. At work, I tend to be more in the mode, ready to be calm in a good way. But at home, you know what I mean? When it's chaos, just taking the one breath, I can't tell you how many times that helped me to not have an emotional reaction. To take that one deep breath is like that pause, be like, okay, I'm not going to, say something I regret or raise my voice or, and to me, that's something I teach to clients. It's what a great start, just to be able to just consciously take that one breath before you say anything.
Yeah.
Trouble.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ken. I can totally relate to the thing about being at home. Right. The kids are like little teachers, constantly showing me where I need to do more work. Yes. And that's the other thing, right? We know, like, physiologically, again, when we're highly emotionally activated, the prefrontal cortex shuts down, right? And we're like not able to think clearly. And so taking that moment to pause, take a breath. If the breath is activating, feel the feet, right? Focus on something that's blue in the room, do all the things to come back to center. There's so much I could talk about. Mudras are another really beautiful, like, kind of physical grounding that can be used with a breath or affirmation, right? Maybe somebody's more affirmation oriented or visual oriented, using those as anchors, right? And ways to come back. All right, so real quick, I want to talk a little bit more about meditation in terms of yoga, and then end with a quick meditation, I think. Now, these numbers are, I guess, they vary. When I first heard it, it was Deepak Chopra, and he was talking about thoughts and the mind, and how on average the human has about 70,000 thoughts a day, and that about 68,000 of them are the same ones we had yesterday. Right? We're like creatures of habit. In yoga, they're called samskaras, right? They're likened to grooves in a record. These same songs that we play over and over again, or even the same line that we play over and over again. And the more we play it, the deeper that groove gets. And so the needle kind of defaults into it. And meditation and mindfulness are ways to not only give the mind a rest, but to develop a relationship with the mind, to learn what our habitual thought patterns are within the context of curiosity and compassion, right? With that intention again, where I'm not going to do this in a way that's, setting me up to judge myself. Because as we sit in meditation, the mind wanders over and over and over again. We are bringing our attention to the breath or to a phrase or to whatever is happening, and the mind's going to wander, and the mind's going to wander. And our practice is really about bringing it back. But at the same time, we might notice, well, this belief keeps coming up, or this storyline keeps coming up, right? And then just like it's like CBT, right? So yoga, thousands of years ago, teaching us, what we know now about replacing negative thoughts with positive ones, and the power of that. Literally replacing those grooves. So gratitude is always a nice place to go to. And I thought we could end with a short gratitude meditation. So if you'd like to, you can come back to, if you're not already, in that steady, comfortable seat. Letting the hands rest on the legs, feet flat on the floor. Eyes closed or open with a soft gaze. Taking a deep breath in and maybe sighing it out. Releasing any holding on again. And this meditation is from Jack Kornfield. He's one of my favorites. I'll offer some phrases and then leave a little space for you to silently repeat or just be present with what's there. So begin with feeling gratitude for the people, animals, plants, insects, creatures of the sky and sea, air and water, fire and earth. All whose joyful exertion blesses my life every day. Offering gratitude to the care and labor of 1,000 generations of elders and ancestors who came before me. And I offer my gratitude for the safety and well-being I have been given. I offer my gratitude for the family and friends I have been given. I offer my gratitude for the community I have been given. I offer my gratitude for the teachings and lessons I have been given. You may want to bring to mind anything else that you're feeling grateful for at this moment. Take a deep breath, and if it resonates, you can bring one hand to the other, over the other onto the heart center, taking a bow to this heart, this body, this life, with deep reverence and gratitude for all of the perfect imperfection, all of the resilience and beauty. And as you're ready, you can allow the hands to come down, the eyes to open. They're closed. So I knew I was going to have more. I apologize. There's more I wanted to do. There's always more. Maybe Ken, what I'll do.
Hi.
Thanks, Angela. There's a couple resources. If you're not familiar.
Yeah, if you want to send an email afterwards, and we can
Yeah.
send it around. But
Yeah.
I know people do have 10 o'clock appointment.
Okay.
Probably. So you did.
Right.
Thank you on behalf of everybody. What a great job. That was, your flow was unbelievable. It was really, so excellent. Excellent.
I'm glad. Thanks.
Appreciate it very much. And thanks to everyone for coming. So you got us all ready to, everybody ready for their next client. And they're going to be nice and calm for that one. They're going to get a deluxe session out of everybody. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And thanks to everybody for coming.
Thank you, everyone, so much.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank you,
wonderful day.
Kim.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kim.